Hey everybody, Toshi here, bringing you a really exciting project. So last month, I was hanging out with a friend who's been playing this game since 2016, but has never gotten to PvP. And I tried to convince him to get into battling, and he basically was saying the same things I've heard a million times about how he feels like he's really far behind and can never catch up, can never get all of the PvP Pokemon necessary. He didn't have a lot of the legacies, and he felt like it would be impossible to catch up. And I basically told him I bet him that I could make a brand new account from scratch and hit Legend within 6 months. I hit Legend yesterday after 31 days on a brand new account. You'll see right here, 755 battles. You divide that by 25 a day and you get 30.2. I hit it on my second or third set on my 31st day. Before I get into that though, a very important disclaimer. This account and this project was made in good faith to try and increase accessibility to the game, to try and build our community by teaching people how to manage resources correctly, and encourage people to get into the game and get into battling despite maybe not thinking that they have the resources. This was not made to benefit any other accounts, mine or anyone else who was involved in this project, and neither myself, my team, Go Stadium, or any people involved in this endorse alt accounts at all. Obviously, they go against TOS, and we do not encourage the use of alt accounts. After this project is over, which it will be after this video, this account will be sunsetted and will not be used as an alternate account to help myself or anybody else. I made very strict rules because I did not want this to just be me getting a bunch of my friends to trade me over some legacies, double moved Pokemon, and use those Pokemon to hit Legend. I feel like that would go against the point. It's not a good indication of how to use resources if other people are giving me all of their resources. So I had a couple rules. One, extremely minimal trading. We'll go over it in a second here. You'll see. I'll go over all my Pokemon that I used. There were a couple Pokemon that were traded to this account. Very few. The vast majority were caught, powered up, and used all on this account. Secondly, any Pokemon that was traded could not be double moved or powered up on another account. I couldn't tell my friend to power up 17 Pokemon, double move them all, and then trade them to me. That obviously would not be a good representation of how to win without resources if I'm using somebody else's resources. Every single Pokemon I'm going to show you here that I used in this challenge was powered up and double moved on this account. If I didn't have the candy to double move it on this account, it stayed single moved. No other account double moved or put Stardust into this. It was all grinded on this account. Thirdly, and maybe most importantly, no legacy Pokemon. No Swampert, no Venusaur, no Charizard, no Empoleon, no Talonflame, no Community Day Pokemon that needed legacy moves to be good. Obviously, a lot of people who have missed those Community Days don't have those available to them, and I wanted to show that you don't need those Pokemon as much. Obviously, with a level 30 account, I couldn't use XLs anyway, but I wanted to also make sure I wasn't using legacies that you couldn't easily get to playing the game. So I think I was really strict with myself, and I did a really good job making sure that all the resources that went into this challenge were grinded by me on this account with no outside help. Any outside help was very minimal and fell within the jurisdiction of those rules. That though, I'm just going to show you guys a brief overview of the account. As you can see, extremely bare bones. There's a Gyarados there, one of the few Pokemon, along with that Dragonite, that were trades. Everything else, obviously, you see most of these are just raids or GBL rewards. A lot of, all those legendaries are just raids or GBL rewards. Very, very bare bones. Not a whole lot to look at here. A couple of cool Pokemon down here. The event spawns were clutch. Event spawns were clutch in making this possible. But as you can see, yeah, very, very minimalistic. Not a whole lot going on. And let's see. These were some of the teams I made. I'm going to go through each team one by one, how I built them, and how what I did. So basically, day one of this project, I realized if I had 37 days to try and hit Legend, I could not waste a second. So I couldn't just spend like the first 3 days getting Pokemon before I started battling. I needed to battle day 1. My strategy was basically use recents to battle. When I started the account, it was Rival Week, which was really cool because there were a bunch of high CP Pokemon just spawning. There were a lot of like Hitmonchan, a lot of Zangoose, Hitmonlee, Makuhita, stuff that I could like catch and either evolve or power up once or twice at 1500 and just use them. So straight up, day 1, I went to my favorite grind spot, started catching Pokemon. When I caught 3 Pokemon that were at all close to 1500 CP, I would do some battles. It's pretty easy to get to rank 20. You just have to actually do get the battles in. The only thing I will note about the first Open Great League race to rank 20 was this adorable MVP. Kanto Raichu was super clutch. It handled Azu, it handled Skarmory, a lot of the flyers, and Brick Break, if I gave it a shield advantage, was really good against G-Fisk too. I think this was the Pokemon I used the most throughout that first bout of Open Great. It was a 10k second move, so it was super cheap. And as you can see, I caught it for 18. So it was the second day of this account. I used this the entire way through rank, I think 19, and it definitely helped to make things easier at those low ranks. Considering the other things that I was using were like single moved Hitmonchans and single moved Electabuzzes, this guy was an MVP. So shout out to Keichu there. So the first 9 days that I was doing this challenge was Open Great League. I was basically doing this using Keichu, grinding dust, just trying to get to rank 20 as quickly as possible. And the 9th day, I think April 26th, was the start of Ultra League. And when that started, I was ranked 19, I think. And Ultra League, I knew, would be by far the hardest part of this challenge. Forget level 50s. I was level 30. So like so many Pokemon weren't even viable at 2500 CP at that low of a level. I think I was like level 26 when I started Ultra League. So I knew that would be a huge issue for me. And it was by far the hardest 2-week span. And I basically just needed to survive Ultra League, I knew. So what I did there was I went on PvPoke with 3 or 4 friends. Shout out, by the way, to some of the amazing battlers in this community. They were huge help in just brainstorming ideas. And I basically went down the PvPoke list of viable Ultra League Pokemon, seeing which ones could be viable under level 33 or under level 35, because you can power Pokemon up past your level. And seeing if I can make any teams out of those Pokemon. And a couple that came to mind were Sirfetch'd, Escavalier. Escavalier was especially interesting because if you got it from a trade, you didn't have to use candy to evolve it, which is cool. But unfortunately, Karablasts weren't really spawning, so even with that no candy, I didn't have enough candy to ever second move it. So, and obviously, as I mentioned, I wasn't allowing anybody else to second move things for me, so I never ended up using Escavalier. And Sirfetch'd as well. I hatched 7Ks like crazy, didn't get the candy for it. I got close, but did not get the candy for it. A couple more were Excadrill, Muck. Muck, again, I can't emphasize this enough. It was so important to what I was doing here. There were 2 different variants of it. It could be caught. It could be used at around like 34, 35, depending on the IVs. And it was pretty good. And then Dragonite, Gyarados, and whatever legendaries were spawning. As you can see, a lot of my 2500 CP Pokemon were legendaries, so I gave a couple of them a shot. Especially Landorus. Quick note, it's bad. Don't do that. Don't use Landorus in Ultra League. Now the Excadrill you see there, it is currently double moved. It was not when I went through Ultra League. I tried my best. I got like 160 candy of Drilbur. It was not enough. So when I used Excadrill in Ultra League, it was single moved. I went back and forth between Drill Run and Rock Slide, based on what the meta was looking like. It was okay. It was honestly not bad. But it was just it was always a struggle too. I was grinding almost every day trying to find Drilbur. At some point during Ultra League, the Gilbert spawns kind of dried up because the events changed. And I think for the last week of Ultra League, I was less than 15 candy away, but I actually didn't double move it until like the last day of Ultra. So if you happen to battle me around rank 21 and was wondering why someone was drill running your Togekiss, I tried my best. Man, I tried my best. And that gets us to my favorite part of this video, which is Remix Cup. And before Remix started, I knew we were back in Great League. I had some time to grind. I would be able to actually make a team of sorts. And I looked at what the events were that week, and decided what could I build for both Open Great League and Remix Cup. And two Pokemon came to mind: Lantern, Ludicolo. Chinchou and Lotad were spawning all over the place. Everyone who knows my content knows how much I love water Pokemon. They seemed viable in Open Great League. Obviously, they're two of the hardest Azumarill counters in the game. And they seem to have some play in Ultra League. Sorry, not Ultra League, Remix Cup. So I went out, grinded a bunch of Chinchou, a bunch of Lotad, and figured I'd use them to see if I could make teams in those leagues. You'll see here, this Lantern was caught on May 2nd, and the Ludicolo, April 30th. And the Lantern's actually really good, I think. I was super psyched. I caught this grinding. Yeah, it's actually really good. Which was interesting. It took me a ton of time to grind out the candies to evolve, power up, and double move all using this account. But again, I thought it would be better off that way, so I did. And the first team I made for Remix Cup was, I think, Dragonair, Lantern, and Ludicolo. I didn't have my good Dragonair. This is my good Dragonair. I had this one. It was single moved, not yet good. I think I caught it at my house, but I caught it at that CP. So I figured, or like close to that, I think like 1420 or something. So I figured it would be a cheap way to start. I did that for like the first day. My Dragonair, Lantern, Ludicolo team, and the team was very, very bad. Yeah, very bad. Evidently, Ludicolo does not work. I'm sorry to everybody in the community who loves Ludicolo. I thought it would work. I really did. I thought Ice Beam would help with the dragons, and not Energy Ball. Leaf Storm would help with neutral damage. It didn't work. It just didn't. It's too glassy. The dragons knew it had Ice Beam, and all they had to do was double shield, and they could farm me all the way down. It was too slow to get through the charge moves. I thought it would work, and it definitely did not. So it was a little bit of a waste of resources, but at the end of the day, is this any good? That's fine. It didn't work the way I wanted it to. I dropped into the 2300s in the first day of Remix and immediately scrapped Ludicolo. Maybe if I gave it a little more time, it would have worked, but I did not have a ton of time. I couldn't wait for things to work. Things needed to work pretty much instantly. I had 37 days total. So I got rid of it immediately. Luckily for me, Lantern was working. And I'll tell anybody who's, in case we have this league comes back, Lantern is good in this meta. It's insanely good against the Frostlass, Deoxys cores we see a lot of. Deoxys being one of the main fighters, Frostlass being maybe the most popular Pokemon in the meta. It was so good against them. Lantern is amazing against Deoxys. It even wins the 0-1 shield, just because Water Gun is so good against low HP Pokemon, and it's so tanky. I would routinely beat Deoxys while using less shields. It wins the 0-1, maybe even the 1-2. I'm not sure about that one though. It was super good. So I knew I had one thing that worked, one thing that didn't, and I figured I would just build around Lantern. That day, I think day 2 or day 3, I went out and grinded an actual good Dragonair because that was working as well. This dude I got grinding, I think around the same time as I got that Lantern. It is also very good. So Dragonair and Lantern were working, and so I figured I would pair that with my Altaria. Now Altaria, again, was, I think, the third and last Pokemon that I got traded to me to help. And again, I followed all my rules, no legacy, it was all double moved, powered up, etc. on this account. If you'll notice, it was a theme. I tried to use Pokemon that were valuable but only 10k second moves, so I wouldn't have to. I would be able to double move them on these accounts. Again, wanted to emphasize that even without the resources, these things can be done. All three Pokemon, Altaria was actually the cheapest of the three Pokemon to make, which is why I used it. And so for most of Remix, I went to a Lantern, Dragonair, Altaria team, all built on this account, with the exception, I guess, of the Evo Candy for the Altaria. And it was actually really good. It was like a standard ABB line. I think ABB lines are probably the easiest if you're a resource dry. We know them the best. They're the easiest to understand. It's a pretty simple concept. Lead Frostlass, safe switch Dragonair to drop the... Sorry, lead Lantern, safe swap the Dragonair to drop Frostlass, close with Altaria. It worked really well. Lantern, again, MVP by a mile. Lantern all day. It was almost impossible to beat Bombas, but not quite impossible. I beat a couple. Things I was really good against, obviously Frostlass. Lantern was awesome to get there. Deoxys, my whole team could beat Deoxys pretty much. AWAC, any fire Pokemon. I loved seeing AWACs and Talonflames. I didn't see that many of them, but when I did, loved it. And yeah, the hard, other than Bombas, the hardest thing was Lickitung. I do, even though this is supposed to show that you don't need a lot of resources, I do understand the frustration. Battling a level 50 Lickitung on every single team with level 25 Pokemon was obviously tough. I had to double team almost every Lickitung I saw. It was extremely hard every time. But at the end of the day, I did end up beating like a lot of them. So it's definitely hard, but not impossible. Through the week of Remix, I ran like 3 or 4 different unique teams, all built on this account for the most part. This top one was my best. The bottom one was one I went into earlier. It was not quite as good. And I think I mixed around other variants of these same Pokemon throughout the project. In Remix, I went from around 2,400 to almost 2,900 in that week. It was a very successful week, and probably why I was able to hit Legend in less than 31 days. I had 37 days to work with. I might have still hit it in this last week if I didn't get quite that much from Remix, but it was a huge help. The meta was easy to understand. It was a fun meta. It was concise, and it was predictable, which was really nice when you don't have a lot of resources to work with. Predictable metas are good. All right, so that took me to 2,900, and once I realized I was that close, I really wanted to hit in Remix because I knew Open Great at the Legends level would be super hard for a team with no resources. Insanely hard. I was really worried I'd get like right up to the 2,900s in Remix, which would end up happening, and then just drop once Open Great came back. Luckily, that did not happen, and another huge shout out to Niantic. The GBL rewards were insanely clutch. As I'll show you here in a second. Galvantula rewards were insane. You see the Galvantula there. There were 8 of them. Almost all were GBL rewards. I think I evolved 1, but like they were all almost GBL rewards. And one might have been. I don't think I actually traded for any of them. Let's see. Yeah, they were all. I think they were all GBL rewards. You see 8 of them there. Pinapping all 8. That's 80 candy just from GBL rewards. It was the only way I was able to build a Spooter in a couple weeks. Similarly with Stunfisk, I had very bad luck hatching them, but I hatched 2. This was one of the ones I hatched. I hatched it at the end of April, and obviously you cannot get the candy to power up a G-Fisk from hatches, but all those Unova Stunfisk were GBL rewards. I got a ton of GBL rewards in Unova Stunfisk. Oh, that was another G-Fisk down there. And that gave me the candy to power up a G-Fisk for Open Great League. So I wasn't in as bad of a position as I thought I was. And I also have a Toxicroak. I forget which event Croagunk were spawning in, but this guy's actually pretty solid. This is actually another trade that I made with my friend Katie. But I didn't really consider it a resource-dependent trade because it wasn't as if I didn't have we were trading Croagunks as everyone does, just hanging out, flipping Croagunks. And are any of these other ones any good? Oh, that's not that bad. And that one's there too. So yeah. I ended up running Toxicroak, G-Fisk, and Spooter, and it's not up here, but I ran the same team with Lantern for a couple sets as well. Unfortunately, for some reason, the day that I hit Legend, there were a lot of grass in the meta. Whenever I ran Lantern, it seemed to love finding Meganiums, so I stopped using it pretty quickly. Galvantula was better. Spooter was so clutch. It basically got me all the way from 2900 to 3000 by itself. So many backlines were Azu Medi. And again, facing level XL Azus and XL Medis on a level 30 account, not easy. Luckily, Spooter enjoyed those teams. And it just goes to show that despite having it out for less than a month, not trading over Great League Pokemon that were hard to get, you know, the only trade there was Croagunk and that was spawning. I got all the candy for it here. And the other two were just GB Yellow Words. The fact that I could get that in less than a month just playing a brand new account shows that Niantic's doing a good job in giving us accessibility to some meta-relevant Pokemon. And this team was actually a lot of fun to play. It isn't very good stylistically, unfortunately. Like, it's not ABB, it doesn't have any safe swap, but I learned pretty quickly that if I just sacked the Toxicroak, if I got a really bad lead, the other two had good coverage in the back. I actually won every single AWAC lead that I faced, even though AWAC is really good against this team. Because I would just sack Toxie, I'd get a shield, because I could typically land 2 Mud Bombs if they baited. Just sack it, farm down with G-Fisk, and if a team led AWAC, that was typically their Spooter counter. So Galvantula up a shield would sweep the back line. It was a lot of like AWAC leads with like Meganium and Azu in the back, or Azu and Medi in the back. Stuff that Galvantula had no problem handling. So the team actually made more sense in play than it did in my head. I was not very optimistic going in, but it only took 3 sets and my first day of Open Great League to get from 2900 to 3000. I closed it out on a 5-0. No, a 5-0 got me to 2990, and then a 3-2 at the end got me to 3000. About 90% of all the Pokemon I used were caught on this account. A couple of trades, no legacies, all double moved here. I tried to emulate what it would be like for someone who was resource dry and didn't have a bunch of help as best as I could. I think I did a pretty good job of it. And I exceeded all expectations for how fast this would be possible. Again, as far as I'm aware, hitting Legend on a fresh account in 31 days is by far the fastest it's ever been done. Please, if you've done it faster, let me know, and I'd love to pick your brain about how you did it. Hopefully you took a lot out of this. It was one of the most fun things I've done this month. I took a little bit of time off streaming to grind. If you haven't seen me on Twitch as much, that's probably why. It was a lot of hours went into it, but it was a ton of fun, and I can't wait for the next project. So again, thank you to everyone who helped me, to Niantic, to Go Stadium, to everyone involved in this. I really appreciate it, and hopefully you guys enjoy this and found it as interesting as I did. All right, Tosh out.